Well, welcome back to the Rusty Nuts, and I thought it was about time that I made Bob version 2. Here is Bob. I've got him ticking over. We've just pulled up down a country lane, and I thought, you know, it was a long time ago since we made Bob version 1, Meet Bob version 1 that is, and now he is looking super fantastic after 18 months of restoration. I thought let's give you a bit of a walk around and show you what we've done. So I guess the first place to start is under the hood. Now it might get a bit noisy under here, but as you can see, we fully restored this engine. So this is the 2.25 petrol. We did switch out to a Weber carb. So originally this would have the Zenith, and at some point we probably will go back to the Zenith, but the Zenith needed a rebuild, and we're coming towards the end of the project, and we thought the Weber probably works nicely. And actually it's, I was going to say, it's actually quite fuel efficient. In comparison to the Zenith, it seems to run a little bit leaner, so you do get a bit better fuel economy. But this vehicle is by no means for anyone that wants a fuel-efficient vehicle. But you can see under here, we've still got mostly everything in here is original, other than the Weber carb. We've still got the shielded ignition system, the shielded coil, and then down in this little gap here, if I can get you down in there, you can see we've got the shielded Dizzy. So Bob is or was in the military a FFR, which means fitted for radio. So you can see many different things on him here. So we've got like these TUAMs, which are the radio aerial boxes on the front, and we have candlesticks here, which will all be related to the radio gear that would sit inside and would be housed on what we call the Dexion. So in here, I've just got my earmuffs and a first aid kit strapped on here at the minute, but this is the Dexion, and you can see we've got a PRC 352 strapped on here, which is also known as a man pack, which would have been in Bob when he was in use. There'd also be a lot of other radio gear in there, which is why the suspension setup is heavy duty. So sometimes on these vehicles, people say they're really stiff. That's generally because if you've got an ex-military one that has been an FFR at some point in its life, then it will have heavy duty springs. It has a 2-inch lift as well, so it sits up a bit higher, and it can take a lot more weight in the back because the radios are exceptionally heavy. That PRC 352 that's in the back there is phenomenally heavy for the size of it, and you think that soldiers would be carrying those on their back during there's a very famous image from the Falklands War where you can see one of the soldiers with that on his back, with the Union Jack flying as well. So yeah, phenomenal amount of weight. But Bob has had a full chassis rebuild. So on the exterior, underneath here, you can see the chassis is looking good. We put 2 brand new fuel tanks on, which we laugh about because in the original Meet Bob video, I said that I wasn't going to be putting any more fuel tanks, or I wouldn't put 2 fuel tanks on, and ended up doing exactly that. So you can see the chassis is looking fantastic, and it's recently been rust proofed by Crown Rust Proofing in Tipton, or near Wednesbury. So yeah, it's great. From the back, on a military vehicle, you have a military cross member. So a civilian one, you have sort of an angle here. So it's a good way to tell if you've got a civvy or a military cross member. If you've got the angles on your cross member, which is this section here, then you've got a civilian cross member. This one is military because it is rectangled, straight edges down the edge there. These are bumperettes, and we've got the NATO hitch and the 24-volt connection there for if you're running a Sankey trailer. So everything very in keeping. We've got the Royal Artillery TRF. So Bob's last unit that he served with was the Royal Artillery, so he thought it was only fitting to bring him back to wherever he was last in his lifespan. So Bob was manufactured in 1981, went into service in 81. He then served until 1997, which is when most of the Series 3 then were cast. I think at that point there weren't any left, and then it was fully in the Defender flow then. Defenders were starting to filter in all throughout the 80s as well. So exterior then, I think we've touched on most of it. We've got the bridging plate on there. Bridging plates were actually phased out between 81 and 84, and during Bob's phase would have been painted either NATO or just deinstalled in its entirety. We've got the military light lenses, which are very easy to replace, so you can just twist this off, replace your bulb. Tyre pressure markings, and then NATO paint with the camo. So I just think he looks brilliant, and he looks so good being back in his original colour rather than that mucky green that he was before. Inside was probably where we did the least amount of work. However, the dash top was good. We kept the dash top, so that's looking nice. It does need a bit of a clean in here because I've been using Bob quite a bit. The lower dash, we managed to get a new cover for it, so we stripped the old dash off, recovered that, and then put all the accoutrement back on. The only thing I'd like to get is a new wiper motor cover at that end, because that's pretty poor. So we did get a second-hand cover off eBay, but it's still really ropey, you can kind of see. So it'd be nice to get that changed, repaired, and looking smart. We repainted the 6-way switch mounting plate. All like the little vent things, all new screws in here. This is for an SA80 mount, which is quite unusual. I haven't managed to make a bracket for it yet, but essentially it would hold the barrel here within the mount clip, and then down on the floor there'd be a little cup in there that the butt of the gun would sit in. So it'd be nice to make that up at some point, and we can sit a model SA80 in there. Everything inside was repainted. We refitted all the information plates, the hand-controlled cruise control. It's not that, but it does control the accelerator. So if you're parked up and using Bob as a generator, using the PTO, then you can. It's a hand throttle. 4-wheel drive levers. Everything now works. I think when we originally did the Bob video, it wouldn't engage into 4-wheel drive. That's all fixed. So everything in here is pretty good. The only thing I think at the moment that isn't working on Bob is the speedo. Now we fitted a new speedo cable. Just turn out the sun. We fitted a new speedo cable into Bob. It was a Britpart cable. We thought we got it back working, and I think what had happened, basically the cable inside had snapped. When I pulled it out, it actually came out in 2 bits. But I think where we'd got it working just slightly when Liam took it on a little test drive, I think it had just kind of twisted around itself and engaged and then just gone. So I've got a new cable to fit, I just haven't got round to that yet. So I'm just using my phone with the speedometer on it just to make sure that I'm staying legal. Down here we can see all the information plates from Bob's time in the military. So this gives you his old military reg, which is 06HH02, and a few other warnings and bits and bobs there. So the seats we added, so these are the deluxe seats, and they just give you a bit extra bolstering really over what the originals would have. The originals would be just the rectangular pads sat in there, so it's a little bit more comfort, but I've driven the other seats and there's very little difference. On the dashboards, sometimes you will see, let me just spin this gimbal round here, these two little ports. Now this is a direct live, so this is constant live fed, and you can attach a working lamp into that. So it comes with a nice long cable, you plug your plug in, and then you can hang that working lamp wherever you need to, if you need to do any work under the bonnet or in the cab, indeed, because you've got no internal light on this. So like a modern car, you know, you get in it, your light comes on. In this you haven't got that, so if you're faffing around in the dark trying to do anything, it's actually quite handy to have that, because if you haven't got a torch on you, or you can't be able to get your phone out because it's attached to the dash because it's your speedo, or your sat nav, I can just hook that up onto some of the straps that sit up here for the canvas, and it works brilliantly. Oh, one more thing inside, we did install seat belts, so 3-point inertia reel seat belts, which are brilliant. You know, we've got to be safe when we're driving Bob. So these are in, the brackets are made up here, and then they clip into the Dexion, which is then bolted onto the tub in numerous places. So pretty secure compared to probably what we would have had we just left it with the up and over and in. So it feels a lot better. New door seals on. Bob got new doors as well, so all the doors were new. They came from Paintman Panels, really good. One regret, I probably should have got Galv panels, but when we were trying to do the restoration, it didn't seem it a lot of times, but we were plumbing a lot of money into it. But I was trying to save some money as well, regardless of kind of how it looked. Cover came from Exmoor Trim. I'm pleased with the cover. It seems to be holding up fine, but I mean, he only went on in, what, August, something like that, so we'll tell through the winter. The quality of it seems pretty good. I haven't had any leaking yet, and we've had some substantial rain recently, so the Exmoor trim cover seems to be working well, but a lot of people have said that undercover covers, or AWT trim, I think it's called, do far more heavy duty covers. So I think when this one bites the dust, that's certainly where I'll be looking next to give it a go. But yeah, I mean, I am so pleased with how Bob's come out. It was a lot of work, you know, 18 months, full restoration on the chassis. So we took everything off, so it was a bare chassis. We re-welded everything. We put a new quarter section on at the back because the cross member had totally gone. So we just replaced that section. So, I mean, he is looking fantastic, and he drives brilliantly. Like I'll say in the sort of next clip where I take you through a bit of a drive, he's just awesome. Really, really fantastic fun to drive, and just puts a smile on my face, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Right, so hopping into Bob, and it is glorious. We've got this sun setting now, so we're coming into what they call in the content creation and photography, videography world as the golden hour. It's just a beautiful time to be out driving and making some videos for you guys. So we've got a camera on the front. I'll talk to you a little bit about what Bob's like to drive, and hopefully get some good footage of us going through some big puddles, because it has been horribly wet lately. He puts a smile on my face every time I get in it. It's absolutely addictive driving a Series Land Rover. Honestly, it is so good. And I'm a bit of a petrol head, you know. I like my cars. I love the handling of vehicles and that kind of driving experience where it feels like you're just so in control. And almost with the Series, it's like you're not that in control. And that's probably the first place to start, is the steering. You know, everyone will say that these vehicles are wayward. You know, the steering's horrible. They're horrible things to drive. And even myself, sometimes I joke to say, you know, they're rubbish. And I guess in a lot of ways, you know, if you're comparing it to a modern car, absolutely, the steering's horrendous compared to a modern car. But you've got to think that the number of links that steering motion has to go through. This has a steering box, and there's so many different connections on there that can slowly over time wear, and that gives you that bit of play in the steering wheel. And I still need to diagnose a little bit of Bob's, because I think there's probably a little bit too much play there. But you've always got to expect some, and you will be correcting this a lot. Oscar was the same. My 1961 Austin A40, he had a steering box the same, and it you know, it was exactly the same. Probably less play in that than what Bob's got, but you know, you still get that backlash through the steering when you go over bumps, and some of that's related to the springs as well. So yeah, it's just so much fun. Like, we're going through some massive puddles now. Imagine the camera on the front's getting splashed. It's just great. The capability of these vehicles is brilliant, and they're rough and rugged. You know, you don't worry about it like a modern car. It's just so much fun to drive. I can barely see where I'm going because the sun is so low in the sky at the minute. But it's just so enjoyable. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It depends what you're looking for. This car is very much, it's a classic car. It doesn't drive like a modern car does. It's very agricultural. It doesn't even drive like a 1960s car drives, you know, like a Morris Minor, the Austin A40 that I had, Liam's Midget Mindy. Those cars, you know, for most people will drive better, but it's just the character of a Land Rover. You know, the I was going to say 2.25, what is that? The 2.25 petrol is an absolute gem of an engine. Is it efficient? No. I think each tank, so because Bob's military, he's got two fuel tanks under each seat. Each one takes about 40 litres, and each tank will get you about 120 miles. And Bob is pretty good. I know some Series 3 that could probably burn through both tanks in 120 miles, which, you know, I think it really depends on your setup, how you've got your carb configured, the carb that you're running indeed, like Bob's on the Weber at the moment. But when you just get out on a lane like this, the sun is setting, you've got the fields, you can look out over the fields. And that's the other thing with Bob being a military Land Rover, and even series that aren't military, civilian spec, you still have that high ride height, but Bob's got that 2-inch lift as well. So indeed, he actually sits higher than Angus, my my old Range Rover L322, and it's such a commanding driving position. Windscreen's quite small in modern day comparisons, but you've still got adequate visibility to drive on any roads that you need to. And I think a big concern for people with classic cars is, do they keep up with modern traffic? Well, yeah, they do. The only time you'll find a series with a 2.25 or a 2.25 petrol or diesel struggling is probably going up a big hill. You know, you will slow down and you'll probably chug up the hill at about 30. So, you know, there's a big hill that drags on the way out of Ashbourne if you're going into the Peak District, which is a route that we often do on the channel. And Bob will struggle with that, but he'll make it up it. He'll just struggle. But they get up, you know, and I guess when I'm saying struggling as well, it's not a struggle, it's just that they will go up it at a slow pace. It's not really a struggle, but they won't go up it as fast as a modern day car will. And the other thing you've got to factor in is that, you know, Bob's got four forward gears. I'm just going to spin round in this little turn in here. So, you know, he won't travel well on a motorway. You can fit overdrive, which is something that I might consider one day, but you know, it's not really going to give you a lot in comparison to a modern car anyway. And do I plan on going to motorway in Bob that much? No, so I'm not really bothered. You could very easily daily a series, and it would be an excellent daily. The heater isn't brilliant, but I've never been driving Bob and thought I'm freezing other than when I drive around with the back open, and that's my own fault. But the heater will warm up the cab, and it's, in fact, the pipes are kind of, the steam coming into the cab now because the heater matrix is on and it is sort of steaming through because I haven't got the vents open or the fan blowing. So, you know, it warms up in here fine, and if I wanted to, I could get a fume curtain which comes across here. It'd sit in front of the Dexian and just behind the seats, and then that would make this space a lot smaller for a heater to heat, because you've got to think it's heating all of this up. And there's holes everywhere, you know, you can probably see up here, there's daylight, I can see daylight over there, I can see some daylight coming through from the tub. So, you know, we're not talking about a very sealed vehicle. When I get in Bob after it's been raining, the footwells are like ponds, because the mats that I've got a ridge on the edge, so it collects all the water. But it's part of the enjoyment of it. But the overall driving experience is unique. I'm not going to say it's great or, you know, even good, because I think it's very subjective and it depends on the individual. But for me, I absolutely love it. I think driving a series is one of the best things ever. I love driving, so I could just spend the whole day just driving around these lanes, and for me that's absolute perfection. Especially when you got some puddles, some mud on the road, you know, get it all kicked up and it just, it's awesome. But yeah, somebody like my wife, she'd get in this. She doesn't get it, like, she does not get why I like series cars like this, or, you know, classic vehicles at all, really. She hated Oscar. It made her sick being in there, like the fumes, the fuel smell. But that's the enjoyment for me. I think harking back to days when you felt like you're part of the machine driving, you know, you're part of this thing, and you're keeping it alive. It's almost like a two-way relationship, whereas modern cars, it's just get in, you drive on, and that's it. So, I don't know, I'm probably just waffling on, but I hope my kind of passion for the vehicle comes across, because it really is fantastic. Well, I guess the final bit is kind of what does the future hold for Bob? So, we're going to be going to shows, things like that, you know, the stuff that we enjoy. We'll be at Tank Trucks and Firepower again next year, because it's a bloody awesome show. If you've never been, do check it out. It's like it's like a festival for people that love green stuff, army stuff, and it feels like a bit of freedom. Like, you know, you've just got kids riding around on quad bikes and stuff, just having a great time, and it's really good. So yeah, check that out if you haven't. There's some stuff that needs fixing already, and that'll be an ongoing journey. You know, it is a Land Rover and things will need to be repaired. Bob needs that speedo cable fitting. I've bought 2 rear seats that are forward facing, so they fold up to the side of the tub, so they need fitting. They didn't come with brackets, so it's almost like a gate hinge that is like a pin on the seat. So I need to fabricate with Liam's help some brackets that we can then mount onto the side of the tub, fold those down, fit some seat belts, and then I'll be happy to carry the kids in here with me. We'll get those fitted, and then next summer we can go out and enjoy Bob as a family, which is just high up there on my kind of wish list for this vehicle. It was kind of always the hope that it would be that. And we could, like, you know, days out into the peaks and things. We're in a sticky spot here down a lane. There we go. We made it through. A transporter and a 109 and a little narrow lane that's probably wide enough for one car. But we did it. So yeah, hopefully can tick that off then and go out and start enjoying Bob as a family as well, which would be lovely. I need to sort the fuel gauge out because the fuel gauge just reads full constantly. I've got a new fuel gauge that fits within the binnacle, so that's an option, but I was going to do a few tests first and just see if we've got any electrical gremlins like we had with the the brake lights, to see if we can kind of fix it through diagnosis. And I need to drop the oil as well, so we need to drop the oil out, fit the oil temperature sensor, put new oil in. It's good just chance really, as we've kind of completed quite a substantial shakedown now. You know, Bob's done quite a lot of miles. We can have a look at the condition of the oil, see if there's anything going on in there that shouldn't be, and yeah, just make sure that everything's tickety-boo. Right, well, I think that's it. I really just wanted to give you a bit of an update and show you around Bob, and I probably didn't do him justice that much. I feel like I rushed it a little bit, but if there's anybody that wants to see anything specific, or, you know, a particular video on the Series 3, drop a comment down below and let me know, and you can certainly look into making a video about a particular topic if you're interested. But I'm so pleased with how he's turned out, and I hope you guys enjoyed the Series 3 content. If you're interested in seeing more Series 3 stuff, do hang around. We've got more videos coming out on Bob, and we'll definitely be doing a lot of road trips in him, and more green laning as well. So thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in any of our merchandise, links are down below in the description, and we'll see you in the next video. Ta-da!